Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Titans. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously, with the events of last episode, the Titans are trying to run out the clock. They believe as long as they can keep Sebastian from falling into May, as well as the rest of the Trigon cults, hands, then they can avert everything that's coming. And Rachel and Sebastian are spending time together, and I do love her even acknowledging, like, hey, you are kind of my big bro. It's like, it is really sweet, because Sebastian for so long never felt like he fit in anywhere. The only person he really had was his mom, and never really knew himself. He even talks about this dream he had about being on this train that goes through a dark tunnel and never been able to get out of it. He knows he's awake now, but he still can't escape that feeling, which obviously for Rachel, she knows exactly where he's coming from. But for her, it's like, right, we're both Trigon's children, but we don't have to follow the path that destiny sets for us. We can be who we want to be, who we choose to be. Because Rachel's like, look at me, I became a Titan. I chose to become that. You can choose to be. She's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You get to make that decision who you want to be. So at the same time this is all happening, you do have Corey bringing up the whole thing of like, right, this is kind of the end all be all. So obviously we don't want Sebastian to be in a situation where he kind of fills that void and becomes this all-powerful person. So Corey's kind of on the lane of maybe we should kill him. I mean, he's like, to be fair, that was her original mission, was to kill Rachel. But we'll kind of talk about that later, about maybe it was never really supposed to play out that way. This was supposed to be the moment. This is the moment where her role of being here on Earth and killing kind of like Trigon spawn really comes into play. But Dick isn't really ready to get there yet, because he's like, no, like, we were able to find another way with Rachel. We can find one for Sebastian. But sadly, the cult ends up sending a little hidden gift in for the Titans, and it's a giant snake. And sadly, that snake ends up infecting Connor, because his wound never actually closed. Once again, I guess because it is like a magic blade. It's a magic zombie blade, so like, because it was enchanted or something like that, it made it, well, or maybe the wound was all, because they were like, right, this isn't an actual snake, it's a curse, so it might not necessarily be the actual snake, or maybe the snake is drawn to it because that's the way the curse was meant to be. And I think that is kind of ironic, considering it's like, right, this might be the same snake that killed, I mean, to some extent, I mean, it can't be, because obviously not the exact snake, because Connor killed it, but maybe these snakes are just manifestations of the same snake just being summoned over and over again. I don't know if it's a situation kind of like summons in Naruto. Like, if a summon dies, oh, it's straight up dead. It's permadead. Oh god, what was the snake that Sasuke summoned to save himself in Shippuden? It was Orochimaru's, like, giant snake summon. Yeah, that thing's like permadead. If I'm not mistaken, that was kind of my understanding of it. But so it was almost kind of that. So I don't. This is kind of a different circumstances. I think it's probably all different snakes. Whatever the case may be, it's like, yeah, Connor finds himself in the same position one of his pseudo fathers was in. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Things could have gone like very badly in that situation. So Jinx has a means of fixing it, but they have to basically inject like this blue ash or something. Never talked about how they got it, but basically it's like, yeah, the last person, she was saying like, yeah, it's kind of locked away because of John Constantine. So I don't know whether Star Labs just had some on tap, got in contact with John, or whatever the case may be, but they need to introduce it into his blood system through a virus without the snake being aware of it. Well, here comes Beast Boy, because I thought he's going to turn into like I was like, well, we do have some shrinking people in this universe. We have like the Atom, so I'm like, oh, but I'm like, well, there's probably no Ray Palmer here right now in this continuity. I mean, well, we don't know. But I was wondering if it's Star Labs, so they might have that tech, but no, instead, Beast Boy turns into a virus, because obviously my thing has always been like, right, I know Beast Boy can turn into an animal, and obviously, once again, the Beast Within episode, he can turn into something else. But beyond that, like, I don't know if that's, I mean, once again, not a comic book person. I don't know if that's something, the character's been around for a while, so there's always the possibilities. Like, he said, like, yeah, Niles said, as long as anything has DNA, my DNA uncouples when I transform, so anything that has DNA, I can turn into it, and what is not a virus, but, like, kind of, like, broken down, like, it's just DNA in kind of a raw form as well, so it's like, I should be able to transform into it. Question is, well, if Connor dies, I die, but also don't really have a system for really bringing me back. And obviously, Dick was saying, like, right, you don't have to do this, but for him, it's like, no, you train me too well. It's like, you would not hesitate under these circumstances. So yeah, it's coming back to bite you that you trained me too well to kind of, like, you know, even if I had to put my life on the line, I got to do this, because if they don't do something, Connor will die from all of this. So luckily, they were able to, you know, it all worked out. Connor spit out the snake after choking on him. It's like, well, I think he has the benefit of not being a Lex Luthor, where Lex is like just 100% human. At least Connor might be half human, but he's half Superman, so he's able to kind of survive some of that. I mean, obviously, like, he's not impenetrable like Clark is, and once again, magic's their weakness. So I'm like, even if he was full Superman, even this would probably, like, give Clark a run for his money, and probably still put Clark in danger as well. I mean, especially considering, like, he's in a weakened state right now, because the whole point is to strap him down with the kryptonite, so I'm sure that adds more complications to it, but it's on enough of just to keep him from being super strong, and I think it keeps his constitution as Superboy intact enough that this wouldn't kill him. But yeah, so the snake was dealt with. Tim also had his moment to step in to kind of shine, just like Bernard said he would. Because Tim's tired of sitting on the sidelines. He's like, yeah, while he was in Gotham, everything last season, he was ground level, able to help people, but now he feels like he's on the sidelines doing stuff in VR. It's like, I'm not really doing anything. So, but I found his moment. Well, one of his moments, his other big moment is him and Bernard. You're like, finally, you two have had this, like, we should do something, like, let's kiss each other, like, look in your eyes for a while, and you finally act upon it. So that's good. I wonder, are they leaning into that more so in this show, just because obviously Tim is bi in the comics? I don't. Is he bi or is he gay? Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to remember, because I know Jonathan is bi, I believe, in the comics. I just don't remember about Tim. Like, I don't know if he's just, like, you know. Has that happened before? Because obviously I feel like they're making more of a point of that in more recent comics, but I feel like, why do I feel like the Tim from Batman Beyond was gay? Am I just remembering that wrong? I don't know why, for whatever reason in my head, I'm like, wasn't he gay? But maybe he wasn't. I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw Batman Beyond, so I might, because specifically, like, the Joker movie made me think about that. But, you know, like I said, I could be just, like, a complete and utter idiot and thinking about the wrong thing. Either way, so there was that. But obviously, May's conversation with Trigon was also really interesting. It's like, right, trying to talk to him, which immediately in my head, I'm like, you're not actually talking to Trigon, are you? You're actually talking to some Lex Luthor, like, he's still, like, his consciousness is there, making you believe it's Trigon, when in actuality it's him. Because I legitimately, I'm like, I still refuse to let it go, because I'm like, there's no way you killed off main status, big time supervillain Lex Luthor, and then you're just kind of like, oh, you're keeping him dead. It's like, it has to be an end of the season twist or something that he comes back. It's like, yeah, it was me all along. Like, I let you guys think you had the best of me. I let you do all this stuff. You're gathering all this power so I can come in and reveal my... Because when the blood started bubbling, I legitimately expected Lex Luthor to pop out. I was like, no, it's me. I'm taking over this whole operation. I'm probably going to, I'm be totally fine if, like, by the end of this season, there's a good chance I'll have Yoko on my face being like, yeah, it turned out they super just killed Lex Luthor and that's that. But I just feel like the fact that they killed him in the first episode too makes you go like, that seemed like too on purpose. Like, I mean, it's just like killing a major villain like that, you know, we'll see. I don't know. Especially with everything with Connor this season, I feel like it'd be so pertinent to bring him back into the fold. But once again, we'll see. But May's talking to what she's saying is Trigon, but once again, some part of me's doubting it, but it's like, yo, you are supposed, you know, like any good cult leader, he's like, no, like, I'm supposed to be one love. She's like, I'm sorry, you are the one, I love no one above you. It's like, well, you love your son above him, but it's like, but I guess the argument could be like, no, I love him as a little less than you. You will always be my everything, but he's the spawn of you and me, so that's what makes him so special and important. So she has to kill her sister slash closest confidant and friend and ally, because it's like, right, there always has to be a sacrifice. Someone has to pay. So to get to where Corey, Rachel, and Sebastian are, she ends up having to kill Gina and using her blood to kind of act as the sacrificial power to get her to them. So, which they show up at one of those Elcos, which I love that it's like, oh, I guess this isn't just a medical, physical place. You know, I mean, it was actually a real place the last time they were there, season 2. But obviously it manifested, no. Isn't that the same place they were in season 2? Well, I know she went there as a metaphysical place when she's talking to that other Tamaranian, but maybe that's the place. Maybe I'm conflating those two diners. That place where they met with Bruce, which wasn't really Bruce in season 2. Maybe that's not Elko's, but because when she was in metaphysical, she was talking about the place she met her fellow Tamaranians. So I was like, okay. So they go there to hide out because, you know, even still then, despite what her conversation with Dick earlier, it's like, no, I will protect Sebastian. And so the Tamaranian lady is like, right, you thought you were supposed to kill Rachel. Like, oh, you think you changed her destiny. It's like, no, you didn't. That saying Rachel's destiny was always going to lead down this, like, she where she is right now because it is destiny. You think you averted destiny. It's like, no, her destiny was always going to lead her to the Titans. Your true destiny right now is to kill him because you were just meant to be a bystander. You were just a watcher in her destiny unfolding. Now, Sebastian, on the other hand, he's the Trigon child you were always meant to kill. And so if you don't do it, ruin will come about. But for her, it's like, it doesn't have to be this way. He hasn't done anything bad. It's like, yes, but it doesn't matter. Who and what he is what matters. Because she shows her, like, this is your future. All your friends, your fellow Titans, your daughter. Which I think is kind of sweet. I don't know if Anna Diop, the actress who plays Starfire, has a daughter. And I know Brenton Thwaites, the actor who plays Nightwing, does. Which I think is because if you didn't see, was it last year's DC fandom? Was that last year? Yeah, that was last year's. When it was announced, like when they at DC fandom, him and his daughter kind of made an announcement about the season, Titans getting a season 4. It was kind of super adorable. So it's like, yeah, like that's actually kind of sweet being like, oh, they have a daughter together. I mean, obviously that's something they set up last season as well. Something he saw and now she's seeing the other side of it. But Sebastian having his way, if that cult gets him, is the end all be all. Say goodbye to your friends, say goodbye to this future. And so it's like, right, what are you going to do? Like, are you really going to let all the people you care about die? And Corey's kind of stuck in that spot. But for her, it's like, no. She's like, everything I've ever known, because it's like, oh, what you owe to Tamaran and everything. She's like, I owe Tamaran nothing. Like, I've completed my mission, but once again, this is your actual mission. But for her, it's like, I'm not going to do that. Everything I've ever known about my life up until now was a lie. It's like, oh, I thought I was supposed to be the crown princess. It's like, no, that was my sister. But because of her it's like, right, everything I knew about my life was a lie. So how can I believe you now about what the future holds? And it's like, all right, whatever, your choices are yours to make, and there will be consequences. So in the end, she spares Sebastian. Lo and behold, May shows up, and Sebastian goes with her just to make sure Rachel and Corey survive, because it's like, he's like, doesn't want anyone dying for him. So they leave. And so it's like, right. And now Corey's probably regretting, maybe I should have done what I was supposed to do. But it's like, I didn't know if I could believe her. I believe there is another way. You didn't have to go down that route. I mean, who knows? Maybe by the end of the season, we'll kind of see like, oh, maybe you should have. I don't know. But I think she's going to be probably like riddled with guilt about handling that. But also it's like, considering now having seen what she saw, and I'm curious if her and Dick are going to connect on that front, because once again, the whole Lazarus Pit situation last season, he saw that, daughter situation, and I don't think he didn't talk to Corey about it, but now she's seen it too, so maybe they'll have a conversation about that next episode. So it is that sad thing of, yes, with the Connor thing, he saved, it's a win. I do think it is important to point out that obviously she had her purple hair. Rachel had her purple hair during that scene, so I think that speaks volumes. So, but when we got Sebastian at the very end, he was surrounded by all of them, obviously saying, brother blood, And he did seem like he was almost reveling in it now. Like, I don't know if that's him kind of playing, like, oh, I'm choosing to be the bad guy, but it's because I'm secretly going to be the good guy or something like that. I'm just, like, working this from the inside, or whether he's just kind of getting seduced by the power of, like, oh, this feels good to be loved, to feel wanted, to find out, you know, this is where I'm supposed to be type of situation. So we'll see how that plays out. There was also that situation with Jinx, when her and Gar were together, which I love those two, like, cause like Jinx made some like joke and Gar's the only one that laughed. I'm like, I love that. And they're kind of like getting all chummy together, cause he did ask her about the whole thing that he saw. What was it? The tree and everything. And she calls it, like, right under the red sky and stuff. It's called the Red, but she doesn't know that much about it. So he still hasn't really gotten a whole bunch of answers on that front. But while they were together, she stole something from Star Labs. I'm like, do we not know it? So I wonder, is that supposed to be, maybe that was the blue dust or whatever that she was trying to get from John, was that. So maybe that's why she's like, well, I have it on hand so I can utilize that in this situation. And even later on, like, Tim was like, yo, what are you doing? She's like, he's like, are you casting a spell? She's like, I'm praying, hoping this works out. But I'm like, well, because I think it's also because, like, it might be a thing of she's kind of like, she likes Gar, and so she was hoping, like, oh, no, I actually like him. The kid's actually pretty cool. So I want him to kind of be okay when it's all said and done. But I just thought it was suspicious because she took something from Star Labs and she pocketed it. Like I said, that might be the blue dust or whatever that they used with the whole Gar situation saving Connor, but I don't know. They kind of didn't make a point of that. They just, we'll have to wait and see if that ends up becoming a bigger plot point or not. But considering where things are, the end all be all is it's happening. I wonder because, like, right, it had to be before the blood moon, and blood moon's still up, so it is probably like winding down of like, yeah, probably like before the blood moon is done. I wonder, does he just have to ascend to his position and it's like, cool, they don't have to worry about the timetables? Or does this all have to happen, him rising and him completely taking over everything has to happen in the next couple hours? I'm assuming it's more so like no, you just have to rise to like your occasion, take up your mantle, your throne of where you're supposed to be before the end of the blood moon, and that's set. Now you have all the time in the world to destroy the world type of situation. So we'll ultimately have to wait to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.